What do you think was like that key thing that others should do that you did?
Actually, like I said, I heard from God. And
Yes.
sometimes we think
That's
it's
good.
big.
That's good.
Like I woke up and God said, today.
What's up, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Don't Keep Up With the Joneses. 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 Don't keep up with the Joneses.
What's up, beautiful people? To another episode of the Pursuit of Destiny podcast. It's me, Ricky Jones Jr., back again for another episode. And for those that are watching on YouTube, you see I have a lovely guest with us today, none other than Miss Erica. How you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing fine.
Yes. She fine and nervous at the same time, but we're going to work through that. You know, the best way to work through your nerves is to admit that you're nervous, and then the rest will flow.
Okay, I'm nervous.
I love it. I love the honesty, right? Yes. And more than anything, I love the fact that the community that we have in our life, right? Because for those that don't know, Miss Erica is the mother of Delani, whom I had on the podcast maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago. But nonetheless, like that community that we have, that we foster and cultivated through worship, right?
Yes.
Going to the same church together, living life together, yes. And just mentoring one another. Like, it's a beautiful thing. However, I prayed and I was like, God, who is the target audience for Miss Erica's story, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to share it to the end.
Okay.
I'm not going to share it to the end. I'm going to let your story tell itself, and then we'll get to the person that it was designed specifically for.
All right.
Yeah, so I learned something new about you, right, today. Actually, today I learned something new, that you came here 16 years ago to America, well, to Tampa.
Yes.
You're already living in America.
Yes.
And you moved over not knowing anybody, but starting a new life. What was that like, and what led you to doing so?
Okay, so it was crazy. I got married in 2005.
Okay.
To my kid's dad. I'd been with him for like 18 years prior to getting married. But somehow, once I got married, it was different.
Okay.
I felt suffocated.
Wow.
And, the thing is, like, on my wedding day, it's one of those things, I had gotten born again just prior. And so it was like asking God, like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Because, you get born again, you were this guy. Yes. You got to get married because that's what you do, right?
Correct.
And so not knowing that my asking that question was the answer.
Wow.
But after getting married, it was like, I felt like I really couldn't breathe. And so we had been married like a year, and it was like, God was like, you got to go, because I felt like I was losing myself.
Wow.
So that December, I heard God say, today. That day, I applied for my Florida nursing license.
Wow.
And from that day, everything, like the finances, everything, I just started saving. And I didn't know where I was going in Florida. Like, I've never lived out of the Virgin Islands.
Okay.
That was never part of my equation.
Okay.
And I have a best friend, she was like, have you ever thought about Tampa? And I was like, no. And she was like, okay, well, try Tampa. Wow. So I started applying for hospitals in Tampa. I came up, I interviewed 3 places, job offers, all 3.
Wow.
They were all willing to hold this job for me until my kids got, so I got these job offers in May. They were willing to hold these jobs for me until July.
Wow.
Travel reimbursement, like when I tell you, everything went. And so that's what I did. And I mean, I still, like, this is a man I've been with for so long. And I mean, I literally asked him, like, would you be willing to make this move?
Okay.
And he said no. So then that said to me, okay, go. So I moved here. Like, my family was like, are you crazy? Like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I just have to go.
Wow.
Like, I came here and moved into an empty apartment. Like, nothing, absolutely nothing. Rental car, drove to Walmart, bought pots, pans, cleaning supplies, groceries, 2 air mattresses, and that's what we did until like we started furnishing this apartment. And crazy enough, that was our life. Like, I was happy, I was content. And then we were going to a Lutheran church.
Okay.
And so we were Lutherans. And
Yes.
then a year after, the kids went to visit my mom for the summer, and then I started visiting churches. Second church I visited was Revealing Truth.
Okay.
I came to that church, I was like, I don't like this church. I don't like Pastor Paul. I was like, I ain't going back to that church. The next Sunday, I woke up to visit another church, and God said, go back. I was like, I am not going back. I don't like that man. But my car literally drove back there, and I'm in the parking lot, but like, I'm here because you said to come here, but I don't like this church.
Yeah.
The next Sunday, the same thing. I'm like, why am I coming to this church? Like, I just
Third
kept-
time.
Fourth time. And then like the fifth Sunday, I'm sitting next to this lady. Does anybody want to join this church? My hand just went up. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't even like this man.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
And then my kids came back, and it was like, this
This
is our new home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's
how
what it
that
was.
happened.
Yeah.
Right. Wow, man, there's so much to unpack there, right? And so one of the things I want to touch on that you shared is that you said you came over to be a nurse. So that means you were nursing.
I was a
back
nurse.
in
I was already a
Virginia.
nurse 9 years.
Okay, 9
There.
years then. Okay, and so what was that transition like from the Virgin Islands to Tampa in the nursing field? How did they receive you on the Tampa side?
It was well received.
Nice.
I mean, I am who I am.
Yes. Yep.
So nursing for me, like my entire life, that's all I wanted to be. I was
Okay.
about 8 or 9 when I decided I wanted to be a nurse. My mom had me at 16, and
Okay.
so I was basically raised by my grandmother.
Okay.
And so she went into the hospital for bed rest, never came out.
Oh,
At that age, I was like, the nurses killed her.
wow.
So I'm going to be a nurse because none of my patients are going to die. Wow. Ricky, in 24 years, none of my patients have died under my care. Wow. I mean, now I
That's
know
beautiful.
how powerful your words
That's
are. And that's
beautiful.
one thing that I'm learning. Like, when you
Yes.
say things,
Yep.
those words,
Yes, have power.
they have power.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
And so since that age, you said you were going to be a nurse. You've been a nurse. 24 years, you say now.
24 years. Could have been longer. You know, there's some hiccups in there.
That's it. That's it. But
that's
you're on the
life.
course, right? That is life.
That is life.
But I love that because, there may be others that are thinking, I want to transition. I want to move. I'm a nurse and I want to move to another place and to be a nurse there. And just making sure that now they have that reassurance that they can do it. That being yourself will translate no matter where you are.
yes.
And people will be receptive of you.
Oh, yes.
And welcoming of you. And the words that you say will be the things that guide you. So I love that. Now, you moved over with your children. How many children moved over with you?
3.
3 children. 3 kids and you moved over to Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
Wow.
2 in high school, 1 in middle school.
When you moved?
Yes.
Wow. Wow, that's big because a lot of people try not to move when kids are in high school with the idea that their friends and the environment, but you said enough was enough and I had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how would you encourage a parent that may be in a specific situation like that have kids in higher level of education that you're like, still, the move needs to take place?
First of all, don't be like me, because look, I threaten my kids with their lives. Like, first of all, like I would say to my kids, look, nobody don't know us up here. Y'all mess up, I'm gonna kill y'all, throw you in the Hillsborough River.
Okay.
I'll tell my mom someone kidnapped you guys.
These are
like,
real threats.
because like it was like, it was fair, of course.
Okay.
It's just me and them, and I just wanted them to be okay. You
Yes.
know, so I had to go to work. So, and I mean, like, that's learning that was God.
Okay.
Because I went to work. I worked weekends. Those kids were home by themselves. They
in a
did
foreign area.
everything that they were supposed to. I mean, I had debts in my family that I had to fly home, and I left my kids in Tampa by themselves.
Wow.
3 teenagers, Ricky. My kids walked straight. There were no parties. There were no nothing. They went to school. They came home. Like, no one knew they were alone. They just did what they knew to do.
Yes.
And when you look back, you just know that that was God. A lot of
Yes.
times you just did things,
Yep.
but
That was God.
that was God.
Yeah. So the key part that you're sharing is that in the midst of the move, make sure there's God a part, because
Has
that's
to be.
that
You
intangible.
have to trust God. Like I formed relationships with people, like co-workers that just knew that I was doing this on my own, and they would cook and drop a dish off for the kids.
Wow. Oh, that's
There
beautiful.
are people that are just meeting me,
Yes.
but just knew that
The situation.
this is what it is. So they
Yes.
know I went out of the country. So they're dropping food off for my kids, just making sure that they were okay.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, like, those are relationships that will last forever.
Yes.
Because they're just saying, wow, this girl is just making a life. And I mean, loving on my kids like that, it's you can't put a price on that.
Oh, no. Especially when you can. And even just to give us perspective, how far is the Virgin Islands where you're from Tampa?
So here to Miami is an hour and it's about 2.5 hours from Miami.
Miami,
Yeah.
wow. And the flight is the only way to do it.
The flight
and
is the only way to do
once
it.
you made that flight, you're
If
there.
something happens, it's like, yeah.
You have to wait.
You gotta wait. So it's like, like that panic, like, Lord, please let those kids be okay, because I can't just
Jump
Drive,
over, drive
yeah.
over. It's not 4 or 5 hours. I
no,
won't
that-
see them particularly that day. It may be the next day or the day after that.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's good. Okay. And so the nurse, the mom that moved, but then it was something on the back end of that. Okay, church, right? So then you were Lutheran in the Virgin Islands, and then God led you to explore, and you ended up at Revealing Truth. Now, you said when you came, you didn't like the church, you didn't like Pastor, right? And for those that don't know, Pastor Poe was a very straightforward man, a very honest man, very direct man, and straight no chaser, like at the end of the day.
No.
And if he was talking about you, you was going to be hurt.
Yeah.
Because you felt it directly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Even if he didn't specifically know you, every message that was a message that talked specifically to you,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so I love my church for that. And even now, right, I love Pastor Brian and Pastor Deborah, all of the great pastors that we have. Now, initially, what was a couple of reasons, right? Or one reason that you said, no, I didn't care for
I'll be
Lutheran
honest.
church."
Lutheran church is like you going to church.
Okay.
You know the time. You're going to church. This time you know exactly when you get out. I could be at home. We're doing first lesson, second lesson. We're doing the reading. We're doing communion. We're getting out. Nobody ain't telling you about how to live your life. Like, that's not discussed. Again, there was no accountability.
Okay.
So I'd be at Jercott on a Saturday night. I'm coming to church on Sunday. I mean, I'm tired. I'm like, not a level 1 or 2.
right.
And then Pastor Poe's there. He's talking about you hitting the club, coming to church. And I'm like, I'm literally looking around because I want to know, did I see somebody there? Somebody else was in the
said
church.
him?
Somebody else was in there last night. They told Pastor about me. And Pastor Poe, when he would start walking down the aisle, it almost looked like he stopped and he looked at you. So then you sitting up there, you sitting a little extra. You're sitting up, your eyes wide open. I mean, like, whoa. Pastor Poe, was he in Jercott last night? He come in for a roti, coming up, like he knew.
He saw.
He saw.
That's
he
it.
knew. Like, so after a while, the club didn't even, like, the music ain't good no more. Like, you start feeling like the music wasn't good. Like, my friends are enjoying themselves.
Wow.
But I'm sitting down all night. Like, it just started feeling like, man, this club ain't working no more. But I think that was just the spirit, like,
Yep,
working
that was the pruning.
out of me.
Exactly.
We ain't, And so it was like, it took a minute.
Yeah.
It took a minute.
Yeah.
But
I even love that part that you're sharing because of how going to the club really wasn't even doing it for you like it used to. And then so much so that coming to the church, Revealing Truth, then you joined a ministry that was ministering to. Well, how much you shared? You joined Team 300. What
Yes.
was Team 300 all about and what did you do with it?
So Team 300 was like totally women's outreach. So they had many facets to it. There was where you could go into the prison jails.
Okay.
You could go into the detention center for girls. They had, of course, the strip
Strip
club
clubs,
ministry. That was my
Yes.
facet. So
Yes.
they had so many different outreach, all for women.
Yeah.
And so, going into the strip club at first was a little tough because you see strip clubs on TV, they all look glamorous.
Yes.
But most of the strip clubs in Tampa are not glamorous
wow.
at all.
Okay.
They are
Dirty and
they're
bad
dirty
looking.
and
Okay.
bad looking, and
Okay.
it's no place that you would want your daughter to be.
Wow.
Like first time I went there, I was like, I really wanted to go home, get some underwear, and bring for these girls. Like, if you're gonna make money, you need to look good making your money. Like, hey, let me help you out a little bit.
Let me help you.
But honestly, it became something I was so passionate about because I was like, man, if me praying for your daughter is gonna keep my daughter out of the strip club,
Wow.
then I have to do
Wow.
this, And it's like these girls are young and they think that this is the way. And we see it as, man, this is something that they want to do. A lot of them were in their 30s and 40s and had been doing this since they were teenagers. And they feel like, I don't have an education, I don't have a job skill, this is all I can do. And it's really like teaching them, like, no, God loves you, and look, there is something you can do outside of this. And I've never asked anyone why you do this.
Okay.
I just let them know, look, we love you, God loves you. And to me, that was enough. And then sometimes you'll say, like, hey, I got a job at Walmart, I got a job at CVS, I got a job, and then they're no longer there. And just knowing that, look, you just plant a seed and let God do the rest.
That's it.
We don't have to make anyone feel judged about what they do, because we've all lived a life that's not.
Correct.
And honestly, there are things I do now, like, we look at things like in classes of sin.
Yes.
But something small I may do may not be pleasing in God's eyes.
Correct.
And so how am I to judge this person? I don't know whose daughter or granddaughter she is, but I'm sure they're praying that someone does something for her. And so if that person is me,
Yes.
hey, I'm going to do it with everything I got.
Correct. Wow.
So
No, that's beautiful. Do you think that the desire to join that ministry came from you being in the clubs before, not strip clubs, but being in the clubs before, like you resonated with it? Or what do you think sparked your excitement about joining Team 300 and being a part of those women outreaches?
I don't know, Ricky. Honestly, like the strip clubs, like now, like I feed the homeless.
Yes.
And I look at, the body of Christ, right? So we got the church.
Yes.
And if you look at the body, and I use that analogy because I'm a nurse.
There it is.
So you look at the body, you got the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, all of those things are inside the body.
Yes.
And so when you look at the church, the people that serve inside the church, they are in the body. But then you got the hands and the feet.
Yes.
And those are appendages. And so those function outside of the
Absolutely.
body. And so I see myself as the appendage.
Nice.
Like it's hard for me to really function on the inside.
Yes.
I feel like, hey, I gotta be out there because anything that
Needs
needs help, so whatever that is, man, that's me. So if it's the homeless, if it's the strip club, I can't, Pastor Paul used to say, you can't help everybody, but you could help somebody.
You can help somebody.
And so I don't know who that someone is,
Yes.
but if I can do it, I will.
Yeah.
And that's just my heart, to touch somebody on the outside, because there's enough on the inside, but I feel like my heart is for the outside.
Wow.
And so whatever that is, I'm
Yeah,
going to do it with everything I am, because my belief is if Jesus was here, he's on the outside. He wasn't inside the church.
Yes.
And so
will
that's
you.
it.
No, I love that. And so much so, even knowing how true those words are to you, as far as like you live in them, you've even gone to the Bahamas and done mission trips with us, the church there, even all the way out to Nairobi, Kenya, right? And doing mission trips with us there. Like, what was that like? Obviously being outside of the church, but even extended into international waters. What was that
Man,
like?
Nairobi that was something.
Yes.
That was something that I will never forget.
Yeah.
Because you see, to go across the world and to see how people live and compare it to America, and to see how hungry they are for something,
Yes.
and how much we take advantage of things that we have here.
Yeah.
Like, things may be bad here, but if they had a fraction of what we had here, my God, like, man,
Oh, that's so
that
true.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't wait to do it again.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
It makes you hungry to continue
I
to
love
do
that.
it. Yeah.
Yes. No, I love that. And some trips are just that, right? They leave you wanting more, doing more because the people there want more.
Yeah.
And it's nothing more pleasing when you are able to be of aid to people that desire the aid and are doing something. Like, it's one thing just. But no, we're not gonna get into that. It's about you, right? It's about you. I tried to go down the road and I was like, no. But to bring it back, bringing your kids to the church, right? What impact do you believe that had on them and you all's relationship? But then maybe them first.
Oh my God, it helped them to grow. I mean, Delani, everybody sees Delani,
Yes.
right? Because she's there.
Yes.
The boys are older. She's actually the baby. But my oldest son, when he went off to USF, man, he like every Sunday, he'd be bringing everyone from, all his friends from USF was coming to church with
Yeah.
him. You don't see him as much, so a lot of people think it's only Delani. But he still comes, and when he comes, he brings a friend, So although you don't see him as much, he still knows that that's home. He knows,
yes.
they grew up in the church. They know
Yes.
where home is.
Yes.
My middle boy, he doesn't come, but
As often.
yeah, but he knows home. Like we always laugh, like when he prays before he eats. Sometimes my friends are like, "Man, he praying like it's the Last Supper. He's down there like praying forever. Like leave him alone, let him pray.
Let him pray.
Let him pray." Like they'd be like, "Damn, that's the Last Supper." Like so they know, like they have that foundation. And
Yeah.
I would say, just like me, I went off, and when God was ready, He steered me back. So regardless of where my kids are,
Yeah.
I trust that God's gonna do the same. It
Nice.
took a while for God to let me know that He's God.
Yeah.
I'm not the God of my children.
That's beautiful.
And to let them live their lives, because without their experiences, they don't have anything to stand on.
Yes.
I had to fall and get up and look up to
Wow.
know, like, hey,
Wow.
I'm standing on the rock.
Yeah.
So they have to have that. I can't tell them.
Yes.
They have to live it
Wow.
to know who God is for them,
Yes.
for themselves. So
Yeah.
I just gotta let it ride out and
Yeah.
just, if they need mom, I'm here. But He's ultimately the man.
Yeah. No, I love that. And what would you recommend or suggest to be one of the most important parts of anybody that's making a move such as you, right? You've made the move from the Virgin Islands to Tampa, established yourself. What do you think was like that key thing that others should do that you did?
Actually, like I said, I heard from God. And
Yes.
sometimes we think
That's
it's
good.
big.
That's good.
Like I woke up and God said, today. But when you're praying for something, when you know God, like I knew that today, what today meant. So when He said today, like I applied and I mailed everything off that day. Like, so it's knowing God and knowing what that meant.
Yes. And be willing to
It
do
was today. Like everything had to go today. And that's what that was.
That's what that was.
Yeah, just hearing from God and understanding like what this meant. So it's hard to explain. Like you have to have that relationship with God so that when He speaks, you know what He's saying.
Right.
Because I would have never moved. Like I thought about it for 2 years, and I said it. I kept saying, I'm going to move for 2 years. I had talked about it with my ex-husband. I was like, hey, what about if we move? And he was like, move where? Like, nothing's wrong with the way we're living. So I had it in the back of my head, like, this move. So when God said today, I knew what today meant. And so I didn't say anything to anyone. I just did what I had to do to prepare for the move. And when I tell you, Ricky, from January to when I moved, I had about $10,000 saved. I probably would have never been able to do that before, but everything to prepare me for this move
Was there.
was there.
Wow.
And I always say, what if I hadn't done that today?
Yeah.
That today was
Yes.
key.
No, that's so good. And you drove it right to where I wanted to go. Because others may be thinking as I was thinking, right? So what happened with the marriage that you had, right? What happened with your husband that you left? Like, what happened in the midst of that as you moved on, grew, and became all that God called you to be?
So I didn't get divorced right away. I
Okay.
moved in July of 2007. And actually, we still talked, I mean, he kind of moved on almost immediately.
Okay.
And I was just
He was
still
lonely.
here. And, we talked. He came and he visited twice. We had actually talked maybe you would move. And that didn't happen. So in 2008, I went home for the Christmas. I filed divorce.
Okay.
And then it became official, I think, April of 2009.
Okay.
And, back then, Pastor Post started doing this series about marriages and all this stuff.
Wow.
Like, immediately after. And I asked God, I was like, hey, like, what would have happened if I had waited? And God said, no. I needed this to happen. I needed you to be divorced before this.
Wow.
And, again, I was, like, for people that don't know, I was 15 when I met him.
Okay.
So, pretty young. Had my first kid at 20, 21, 20. Like, by the time I was 23, I had all 3 kids.
Okay.
So, I was young.
Yeah.
And, that's the person I knew. And so, familiarity is a lot of stuff. I mean, we're cool now and all, but that season was over, and I'm okay. I'm okay. I wouldn't trade my kids, but the life that I have now, man, it's a beautiful life.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's beautiful, right? We can seal that thing up, right? For the people that may be thinking, oh, what happened with him? Where is he? And all those things. There was an attempt. It didn't work out. You all moved on, but yet are cool enough to be able to parent, right? The children that you all have. Love that, love that, love that. And so now we are at the present day, right?
Yeah.
2023. Currently, right? Knowing Miss Erica and all the things that you've done, what are some things that you look forward to doing in life still this day?
Let me think.
Let me think about what I want to say.
Ricky,
Yes.
I don't know. I take it day by day because, my mind is just, if I leave it to my mind, I get crazy. The one thing I've stopped doing is comparing.
Yes.
Because my story is my story. I let God guide me. Because sometimes I look at, say my colleagues, right? Where I work, I'm literally like the nurse that has my associates. Everyone has a bachelor's. And a few months ago, I started having like this thing about, I need to go back to school because I need my bachelor's or more. And like about 2 weeks before school started, I started getting that weird feeling.
Wow.
And I was like, man, like God, like, is this fair? Is this going back and forth? Pre-pandemic, same school I applied there. The day before classes start, had the same prayer with God, and God said, where I'm going to take you, you don't need that. Wow. So here I am praying. Nothing. And God just says, I don't change. Which says, what are you doing? I didn't change my mind. Who told you that you needed that?
This. Yeah.
So I did the same thing. I kept up because who told me that I wasn't qualified? I'm doing the work.
You're doing the work.
I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
And so I just say, nursing, am I done with nursing? To an extent.
Okay.
I do feel that.
Okay.
But what's next? I don't know. God has said it's your time, but it's not your turn. But until my turn comes, I'm going to be the best nurse that I know how to be. What my turn is, what that looks like, I don't know. But I do know God well enough that when that time comes, He'll tell me just like He tells me everything else.
Yeah.
And so what my future looks like as far as career, all of that, who knows. But I love people. So I love mentoring. I love helping. I love all that jazz. So it'll probably look something similar.
Yes.
But what? I don't know.
Yeah.
you know, I'm a grandma of 4 right now.
There it
That
is.
keep me busy. Good God. You know, my second son, he doesn't have any kids, so that
Okay.
number is gonna multiply in the future.
Uh-huh.
I'm single, so
There it is.
I'm hoping that a husband comes along
There
at
it
some
is.
point in
There it
time.
is.
I mean,
There it
that's
is.
my desire. I don't know what God's plan is, but that's mine.
There it is. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of possibilities.
Yes.
But again, it's what God wants.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I love that you are good. You steer me right into the next question every time, which is others may be listening and watching and hearing you talk about you talking to God, God talking to you. How has that grown? How has that become? How have you developed your relationship with God to the point where you can specifically ask for things and God talks back to you?
You know, I used to hear people talk, you know, how their thing with God sounds.
Yes.
Literally, I have this you know how I talk, my hands, all of that. I'm kind of rough. So God literally is
sound
rough
rough.
with me. You know,
Okay.
literally, like,
Okay.
God is like, look. Like, if I acting like God is like, look, you know,
Yeah.
you know better than that. Like, you know, he speaks to me for me. And I think I've always heard from God. Like, as a child, my mom would tell me, because I grew up, although I was Lutheran, I went to like a Baptist private school
Okay.
where they really taught the word.
Yes.
And so she told me, which I don't remember, that I was always in the Bible.
Okay.
Always. I don't remember that.
Yes.
So I would remember like talking to God as a kid. I wanted to be a nun, Ricky. I wanted to marry
wow.
God. I think I'm a nun now, Ricky. I'm a nun.
It all came back again.
Take
Watch
my
your
full
words.
circle.
Watch your words.
That's what I'm saying. Really? He probably like, you wanted to be a nun. Hello.
We here.
We here right now,
Right.
but hopefully it's temporary. Anyway.
God, I love you.
But
That's good.
so, you know, I've always heard, did I always listen? No.
Yeah, okay.
You know? And so it became easy sometimes just being still. It's the little things, you know,
That's
just
good.
driving. You ask God, like, I'd be driving, you look at the interstate, I'd hear him say, go straight. Nah, go on the interstate. And then when you hit that traffic, like, me and God is funny, I'll be like, don't say nothing. Like, literally, like, don't say it. Because I knew I heard you say go
heard you
straight.
say go straight.
But you hear.
Yes.
Like, what we choose to obey
That's
is
good.
different from what we hear.
Yes.
Because God speaks all
God
the time.
speaks, yeah.
I mean, we sometimes expect that whole conversation. But if you're listening for God to say something, you hear him, whether
Yes.
it's just go, stop, give. He tells you.
Yes, ma'am.
He literally tells you and tells you what to do. So, you know, you just have to be open to hear him.
That's good.
And like he said, my sheep
Hear
my
my
voice.
voice. Yep.
If you really are believing and you ask him to speak to you, he's going to speak. What you do with what you hear is really up to you.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And you answered it in many ways, right? As a child, you spent time in the Word. You were said to have heard God's voice even back then. And then it's the everyday walking about life. It's not so much about the big things that you ask God for, but it's also the everyday walking about quote unquote little things, right?
Yeah.
From directions to maybe groceries to give, to the amount to give, to who to give. Like, all things matter.
Yeah.
And as you are in relationship with God, all those things can be brought to God. Therefore, you can hear from God to speak on those things. So I love that. Now, as you said, you're a mom, your grandmother, boom shakalaka. Have you seen yourself in your kids? And if so, how's that? Deep breath.
Now, you know, I see the good and I see the bad.
Yes, ma'am.
Because, you know, being born again, you know, there's some things that are cultivated. I
Yes.
could go from 0 to 100 real quick.
Okay.
Like, real fast.
Okay. Is that the island side of you, or?
It's my mama's family side of me. They a little, a little rough around the edges over there. But and in some instances, like it still happens. Like so, it's initially like God have to really it's real quick. Like he'll bring me down like that. Like even sometimes like I'm mad, God will be like, go to your room. Like something could happen, and God will be like, go to your room, or go to your desk, or take a walk.
Yep.
Like and so again, recognizing His voice and
That's
doing
good.
it, so
And doing
it keeps you from like you know better, But my kids, they're givers.
Okay.
Like they know to give. Like I remember, like here in Tampa, you stop at the stop, like someone comes to the car, and as teenagers, they're going in their pockets, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? Y'all ain't got no money, and they're like, but mommy, you give. So them watching you
That's good.
do that, they have learned to be givers.
Yes.
My oldest son, like he'll stop, helps someone change their tires,
Wow.
like those things, because they see you doing.
Correct.
They do.
Yeah.
Delani has a heart for young people.
Yes.
Because
She saw
that's something
you.
I've always had. Like I was a school nurse, so those students have come to my house. So that's what they have seen.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, they see. So it's so important that you do things that you want your kids to emulate.
Yes.
And
That's so
so
cool.
the softer side of me now, I'm very intentional of showing that to the grandkids.
Okay.
Because, I want them to see the new me. Like my kids have seen the old me, that harsher side of me.
And hardworking.
That they have that.
Trying to
like
make it happen.
they know that, Again, they hardly saw me growing up. I was working 3 jobs.
Wow. Wow.
I was a school nurse. I worked at the hospital. I worked at a pediatrician office.
Oh, wow.
So weekends, holidays, like I was out
Working.
there working, So, they were always at my mom or at a cousin's house. They were somewhere. And so when we moved here, then we became a family. So my kids really got to know me as mom, like full-time mom, as teenagers. They either know me sick in the hospital or working.
That's interesting because, as you said, now you worked 3 jobs before. However, when you came over as a nurse, I thought you simply just had a nursing job, like you just do now. Right.
A job.
A singular
so
nursing
could you imagine that? Like one job. Wow. One job.
Yes.
And I've been able to do with one job what I was doing with 3 jobs.
3 jobs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how are you able to have 3 jobs? Like, as one person, 3 jobs.
So as a school nurse, because school nurses don't make no money, first of all.
Okay.
They make a fraction of what nurses in the hospital
Wow.
make. So I worked Monday through Friday from like 7 to 3. I would go home like 3 days, like let's say maybe Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday. It's Monday, Wednesday, Sunday. So there was no church, hardly. Go home, cook, help the kids with their schoolwork, and go to the hospital from 5:30 to midnight. Get up, do this again. And then the other days, I'm working with a pediatrician, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, probably. And I'll go like from 3:30 until his office closed. Yeah.
Every day you are getting it. 3 jobs.
3 jobs.
3 kids at home.
3 kids at home.
1 mom.
1 mom.
That's amazing. That's superwoman.
And
Right
again,
here.
that's God again, because
Yeah.
I always said, God had to put that on the inside of me to be a nurse, knowing that one day I needed that career to foster the income to take care of my kids on my own.
Absolutely.
You look back and you see God in
Yes.
everything.
That's beautiful.
Again, I became a nurse when my grandmother died.
Yeah.
God knew that at some point in my life, my mom would have cancer and would need a nurse to take care of her. Like, you see God, like,
Yes.
how did you know?
Woven.
Just woven through your entire life. If you want to see Him, that's if you want to see Him. We look at God, and again, like for me, I remember when I got pregnant 1, 2, 3, I was like, man, God, like, you gonna stop me from getting pregnant? I mean, I got pregnant, but God, you better stop that. Right, Ricky? But then, after I had Delaney, the doctors
good.
were like, by that time I was diagnosed with lupus.
Okay.
And the doctors were like, you can't have any more kids. Another child would kill you. God knew that I needed to have my kids before I was diagnosed
Yeah.
and not be able to have children.
Correct. At 23, it had
Because I had not had them,
correct.
I would not be able to have them.
Correct. If you had
So
waited
that-
after.
So that's God there, God is God, man. The man is bad.
He's bad. When you look back over.
When I look back over my life and all He brought me through.
Ooh, yes, Lord.
Hello.
No, don't do it now.
Listen.
Because God is that good.
So I always say, you see me walking, talking, praising. It's a lot. At 25, I should have been dead, Ricky. The doctors told my parents she's not going to make it through the night. And I woke up in the ICU with tubes in every hole possible in the human body. I woke up. They told my parents she's not going to make it through the night. I woke up. They said by the time you're 40, you'll be on disability. Ricky, I'm going to be 52. I'm still working,
Look
though.
at you and working good.
Working. Hey, listen. So I'm saying, you got to understand, that night when they said that I was going to die,
Yes.
I told the EMT, and I don't even saying it, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to die. God's not going to let me die. I have 3 children. Your words.
The words.
Back then, I wasn't even born again.
Wow. But you knew.
But the words.
Yeah.
Your words have power.
Yes.
Good and bad.
Yes.
Good and bad.
Good and bad. Wow.
So I was speaking before I knew the power of words.
Yes. Wow. And living in them.
I'm now living it.
Wow. I love how you just brought everything together, right? You did it yourself. You said all things, and then you brought all things together, like a nice synopsis, which is so beautiful. Again, you just walked this whole thing through, this podcast through.
Hey, Ricky, listen. People, you got to know. You just got to know God. You got to trust God.
Know God, trust God. Yeah.
It's an easy no.
Okay.
It ain't easy.
Okay.
Because, life be lifing.
Yes.
But,
Yes, we all know that.
man,
Yes, ma'am.
when you just keep living and knowing, it's impossible for me to have gotten from A to B without God, then like you say, you can't just keep moving. Even the air that I breathe is not mine. And that's how I look at it.
Yes.
Even though I fell yesterday,
Yes.
the fact that I'm here today, man, I know you got stuff for me to do.
Yes, ma'am.
I got stuff. You love me that much. You still trust me with people. And that's what, for me, my job is people.
Yes, ma'am.
Regardless of whether it's in the hospital, whether it's the homeless, whether it's a strip club, whether it's in the church, wherever it is, it's people.
It's people.
And you trust me with your people. To me, that's big. You literally trust me with your people. Me. Me. When I look back over the things that I've done, but you still trust me with your people, that's big.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And even in praying about who this podcast will be for, God was sharing with me, it would be for single parents that have made a move and are looking to have a better life. And I was like, okay, we're going to see how that gets spoken to. And I don't want to put it on the front end, right, with unnecessary pressure, right? I don't want you to have pressure, but at the end of the day, I knew that your life has lived in a way that would be beneficial for them. And so let me just extract all the good, all the keys, all of the methods and ways in which you've been able to get to the point that you are. And I believe you've done an excellent job in doing so.
Oh, thank you.
You came in nervous,
I'm
but
still nervous, Ricky.
at the end, you knocked it out. And like I said, you've even driven the conversation in the way that I was going to go or saw it to be, and you done well. You done well. Any last thing that you would say to a single parent looking for and wanting better for their household?
Give your way through it. Yeah, you got to literally give your way through it. Because many times we are just looking to receive.
Wow.
But while we're giving to others, while we're praying for others, someone is going to give into you. Someone is going to pray for you. Like during the pandemic was like, I had changed jobs. I took a job that was paying me like thousands of dollars less. Like at one point I was like, man, I didn't even know where my rent was coming from, Ricky. It was tough.
Yes, ma'am.
But God kept pushing me to give to the homeless. Like I was like practically maxed out on my credit card because it's like, you want me to give? Like I'm going to Walmart and I'm spending like $200 a week buying stuff for the homeless because he's like, he wants them to have new stuff. He don't want them to have used stuff. And I kept saying, if you want me to do this, you're going to have to
provide.
Fast forward a year, Ricky. Salary, $10,000 more. Okay? Bills down. Like, them credit cards. And when I talk about peace, Ricky, like peace.
Yeah,
and my
it's
kids
intangible.
doing good. Like you praying for your kids, like, man, they doing well.
Yes.
And just knowing that, man, God is faithful. Like you just do what he's asking you to do, knowing that he is God.
Yeah.
Like we sometimes we want to hold on because we're looking at what we have. But we serve a God that owns it all.
Yes.
So you gotta give
your way
through. Wow. You gotta give your way through.
Wow. That's beautiful. Give your way through.
Your kids gonna be fine. Because they ain't ours anyway.
Because they're not what?
They ain't mine no way. They belong to him.
That is true. That is true. That is true. That is true. So they're going to be okay.
They're going to be fine.
They're going to be fine. And you have somebody here that can attest to that. Not just saying it because it sounds good or it looks good, but that it lives true. And so believe God, trust God. Love that. So if there's anybody that's like, oh, I love all that she said, I want to reach out to her, I need more information or anything like that, what are ways that people can contact you?
Facebook. I'm on there. Yeah.
Do you do email?
I have email.
Okay. What's your email?
It's AKIRE992 at Yahoo.
At Yahoo. Okay. And you have Facebook.
I have Facebook.
I'll put all of that in the description so you can contact her through Facebook if, that's what you want to do. And if you are a gentleman that is looking and have found interest in what you see, know
you gotta
that.
go through Ricky.
You know what I'm saying? Know that. We will have a conversation, right? So I'll put my contact
That's right.
in the description and we can talk. And it'd be others that just want to have a conversation, right? We just want to make sure good people with good people at the end of the day. Because, good people are hard to come by. However, I know that the lovely Miss Erica is not only good people, but great people, a great person. You heard her heart and you know where she's going. And so to get her out of being a nun, you may be the one, sir. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk. We'll go from there. But again, the power of your words. The nun that she talked about as a child is getting a taste. She get a taste of it. Because she was a child. Because you ain't knew better. You didn't know better back then. You ain't know better back then.
Nah.
And so it's just a taste of the words. But nonetheless, again, your words have power. So again, thank you, Miss Erica. I appreciate you. I know those that have listened and are watching appreciate all that you shared as well. Because, it's beneficial and it's rewarding. And I'm even the better, right? Even as a man that's married, right? I'm the better because of the foundational truths that you shared. And so look forward to the people on the other end being benefited because of the story that you shared and the life that you lived. Yes, ma'am. You're awesome. You're awesome. So again, we thank you, great people. We love you. Wait, I didn't ask my final question. Miss Erica, what do you believe that your destiny in life is?
Just to love people, honestly. That's the only thing. Like, whenever I ask God, He always tells me, love.
Yeah.
That's all I ever hear is love.
Yeah.
And funny, like, growing up, when I went to the Baptist school,
Yes.
my favorite song was This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine.
Yeah.
And many times, that's what comes into my spirit. Just let your light shine. I gotta be a light.
Yeah.
So even when I'm being my worst,
Okay.
He reminds me that you are light.
Wow.
So if that's all I have to be is light, be a light.
Wow. That's beautiful. Well, continue to pursue your destiny, Miss Erica, and your love and the light that you are will continue to benefit all that you come in contact with. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm even a recipient of your love and your light. So I personally thank you. And I'm sure there's others, thousands, right, that would line up to say thank you because of the impact and the love that you've had on them as you are pursuing your destiny. So again, great people, don't just live life, but pursue destiny daily. See you on the next one. Peace.